Hey YouTube! So as you may or may not be aware, Halloween is coming up at the end of the month. And Halloween is one of those holidays that isn't exactly punctuated with music like Christmas is, so much as it is with the traditional horror films. And I decided today I wanted to do a video for you guys that goes over my 6 favorite horror films and my 3 least favorite horror films. Now, please keep in mind that these are just my opinions, and that I actually haven't been watching horror films all that long, only since like sophomore year of high school. Every movie that I mentioned, both the good and the bad, I will put a link in the show notes in the description below on where you can purchase it on DVD and or Blu-ray, whatever's applicable. So let's go ahead with first my 6 favorite horror films, or the 6 best horror films I've seen since I started watching horror films. Coming in at number 1 is A Nightmare on Elm Street. For those of you who don't know this movie, what's wrong with you? It is a classic film written and directed by Wes Craven, who also went on to do Scream. He did Last House on the Left before he did Nightmare. He is currently working on a 4th Scream. He has a new movie coming out called My Soul to Take. So he's known for doing some really good work. And the movie itself is about a child killer named Freddy Krueger, who was killed by the parents of the kids of, I forget the name of the town, but of the town. And then after Freddy dies, he makes a deal with the dream demons, so he has the ability to come back and kill the kids, if that makes any sense to you. Coming in at number 2 on the list is Child's Play. Again, this is another movie that I like, even though it doesn't exactly have the most respect in the horror community. Child's Play is the story of the Lakeshore Strangler, Charles Lee Ray. And he gets shot to death by Detective Norris, and in his dying moments, he transfers his essence, his being, into a good guy. From there, a peddler picks up the doll at the wreck from the store and sells it to a woman, who gives it to a child for his birthday, at which point he tries to kill the kid and tries to kill the mom, tries to kill the cop. It's basically your story of a killer doll gone mad. Yeah. But that is one of my favorites around Halloween. It was also the 2nd horror film I watched, with Nightmare being the 1st. Coming in number 3 is Psycho. For those of you who don't know Psycho, Psycho is a Alfred Hitchcock movie. It's a classic. It stars Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh as Norman Bates and Marion Crane. And it is first true slasher film, one of Hitchcock's greatest achievements, and one of the longest standing horror films ever. And it's basically your story about boy kills mommy, boy dresses up like mommy and kills everybody else. Just your regular horror film story, nothing fancy. Yeah. Coming in at number 4 is John Carpenter's Halloween. This is another classic. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why you haven't. It's one of the few horror films that actually freaked me out a little bit. And I'll go over that in a later video called Why Horror Films Are Scary. Why some horror films aren't scary. But basically that's just the story of a mentally deranged kid who kills his sister and breaks out of the mental hospital, and then years later tries to go back and kill his baby sister. Coming in at number 5 is The Shining. For those of you who aren't familiar with this work, it is based on a novel by Stephen King, possibly one of Stephen King's finest books. It's the story of a dad who takes his family with him on a winter caretaker job, and he slowly but surely goes deranged and tries to kill them. And coming in at number 6 on the list is Leprauchaun, Jennifer Aniston's feature film debut. I know where you already realize this is going. Leprechaun. Jennifer Aniston finds the gold with her friends. Leprechaun tries to kill Jennifer Aniston and her friends. And the 3 worst, actually I want to make this 4 worst. horror films I've ever seen. Coming in at number 1 is Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It was awful. This movie makes me cry. That's how bad it was. It's an 88-minute movie, and you get to see Freddy Krueger for 13 minutes. That tells you how bad it is. Coming in at number 2 on the list is Seed of Chucky. I give very high praise to the first 3 Child's Play movies. I'll even say The Bride of Chucky was good. But Seed of Chucky is just wrong. It's not a good movie. It's a comedy. It's not a horror film. I mean, really. It's a family drama. Coming in at number 3 on that list is Psycho. No, not the Anthony Perkins, Alfred Hitchcock version I just told you about. This is the remade version with Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. Yeah, Vince Vaughn, you know. Vince Vaughn. I'm trying to think of something famous Vince Vaughn has done. I'm drawing a complete blank. Yeah, I know he's done something good. I'm trying to think of a good Vince Vaughn film. Dodgeball. Dodgeball was decent. The Breakup was pretty good. But most of his films usually aren't that great, and a remake of Psycho directed by Gus Van Sant is not an exception to the rule. Finally, coming in at number 4 is Hostel Part II. Now, I know some of you are probably huge fans of Hostel, but this movie, it's the only movie to ever make me physically ill. I watched Saw while eating a bucket of chicken. There was a scene in Hostel Part II that made me physically ill. I don't want to go into great detail with it. I think I might put a link, if I can find it on YouTube. I'll put a link in the underbar, you know, in the show notes down below, in the doobly-doo, as Wheezy Waiter would say. Yeah, this movie, it had a scene that just involved blood in a way that would make any normal person sick. Even somebody who loves horror films like me. So those are my favorite and least favorite horror films. Be sure to check back for my next video, which is going to be why some horror films are scary and why some just aren't. Until next time, this is Dan signing off, and don't forget, if you like these videos, please subscribe, give the videos a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And you can always follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/DanStransky. Catch you later.